Yeah, our internet's a little bit foggy this morning. We'll just talk for a second. This page should load in a second here. Basically, what happens in here is
all right, again, here we see problems with, the internet, which happen, and it's just important not to call too much attention to it.
Sure.
He caught his own mistake and said, because he knows what to do.
Yeah.
He said, let's just talk for a little while,
Yeah.
which is the perfect thing to do. But you don't have to say, the internet's broken, let's talk for a while. Just start talking for a little while.
Yeah, I totally agree. And here's the thing I would say as well. So we're sitting here in a very luxurious position where we get to see things with hindsight, right? 2020.
Yeah.
And when you're in the hot seat, it's tough. And so for everyone watching, don't strive for perfection. Just strive for authenticity. And it's okay. Things are going to mess up. They're going to screw up. I mean, you've screwed up multiple times during this whole thing we've been doing, Scott. And I feel, I'm just joking. I have though. And it's been, you roll with it, right? And totally. I think that that is ultimately more important, is to not strive for perfection.
Totally. And we'll share the outtakes at some point.
Sounds good.
Let's roll.
A curated or a semi-curated digest begins, like a newsletter starts here. You can have that as basically as automated as you want, right up to 100% automated, all the way down to completely manually curated, or anywhere in between, sort of give you back the time. What happens is any of the news that have already come from that alert section that we've prompted up are going to show up in here automatically. And then we give you the tools to easily find more content to kind of build that up. I don't know what's going on here. Usually this loads, there it is, okay. So here you can see at the top, you can see this is automatically set to send out in 3 days. We can set this to weekly, monthly, daily. Actually, some of our customers are doing this sort of on a monthly or quarterly basis. And then other customers like Nike, they're using this inside their recruitment team, their talent acquisition team. I guess the news on businesses closing or opening is super important and super quick. So they send out a custom digest every single morning at like 9 a.m. Eastern time across the country to about 300 of their recruiters. Obviously, daily is a little bit much for most people, and I think weekly or monthly makes more sense. So here's what the workflow looks like to do that. We've got some of the articles.
All right, fantastic. So calling out a massive brand, right, Nike, and talking about how they utilize it. So if I'm in the customer's shoes here, the prospect shoes, I'm probably thinking, okay, if it's good enough for Nike and their needs on a daily basis, I'm probably covered, right?
Yeah. Totally. Anytime you can throw those, big wow names out there, it's going to make them feel really comfortable.
Yeah, like Scott Barker, for example.
That's a big one. If you do Dave Kennett, they probably think you're lying. No way.
Not Dave.
No way. But maybe Scott. Yeah. Let's see if he drops any more big ones in the coming.
Sounds good.
That have already been brought in here. But if I want to find more articles, I can pull up an aggregated feed of any of the news that's been brought in and curated down below. You can see all the ones that are blue have already been added to the platform. And if there's white ones down below, we've obviously done a lot of demos in the last week, I can find this article and simply add it to the digest. Simple as that. Now, it's no longer cut and paste the URL, put that in a spreadsheet, then find some summary information and find that. We do that part automatically for you. So as I find these articles, we're going to automatically create a summary for you and find the title out of it. I can edit this if I want to, or I can actually put a why does this matter, a so what piece in place, which is super important as you know, I'm sure. You send out just a link to an article, the sales team is not going to read that article.
So one thing I've said many times to my sales teams, and when we're doing replays coaching, I say it a lot, and that is, yes, people buy from people that they like and they trust, and that are passionate about their product or solution. And rarely do I get pushback on that. Sometimes people are like, okay, you don't have to like the person, and I agree, fair enough. It's a bonus if you like them. You gotta trust them though, and passion. And I hear passion from Shane. Like, it's authentic, it's real. You can tell that he actually really believes in the Klue solution and wants to help this customer, and that counts for so much. You can't coach that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually on team you need to be liked. I think we're at a point now where anyone worth their salt now is consultative. They are all professionals.
Sure.
So why not be liked while you're at it?
Yeah.
And Shane definitely is liked. Shane's killing it. But I'm definitely in that whole likability battle.
Yeah.
I'm on team you gotta be liked for sure.
Okay.
You might as well.
Well, hey, right? But let's take this one step further then.
Yeah.
So, we talk about, you and I, when we're having coffee and we're talking about sales, we talk about different methodologies. Whether it's spin or challenger or what have you. Talk about challenger, it's not about being liked, right? It's about not being afraid of having contentious discussions, like being respectful, but going into levels of discomfort and helping the customer view things a certain way. And I think that, I would want to reiterate that to the folks watching. For sales professionals, it's important to be likable. I would also say, don't be afraid to venture into the discomfort zone. And an example would be when you are talking to a customer, and let's use this as an example right here. So, Caitlin's a product marketing manager. And I wonder how many product marketing managers Caitlin talks to throughout the course of a year. I don't know, a handful, maybe? I mean, maybe going to a few association mixers, that kind of thing. But Shane, in his job, in the course of doing hundreds of demos in a year, I don't know if hundreds is an exaggeration, but a lot of demos, he's talking to a lot of product marketing managers, probably more than his average customer has. So he's actually got a window into other organizations and massive organizations, right? Like Nike and cool organizations like OpenGov. And so he's able to talk about things from a position of authority. Like, here's what we see in other organizations. And so when a customer is pushing back, I just want to really highlight to the folks watching, if you're a new seller and one thing you're trying to work on is not just being relational, not just being likable, don't be afraid to be like, hey, say to the customer, I understand where you're coming from, but from my experience in talking to a bunch of folks in your position and being able to look under the hood in their companies, I have to say that I disagree with you. And here's why, right? I think that's important, not to be afraid of that.
Yeah, totally. And I think being agreeable and being likable are two different things. I've always kind of looked at it is, if I can help them solve their problem, and in order to do so, I have to ask the hard questions. That's going to ultimately make me likable because I solved their problem, right?
Gotcha.
But I agree. You never want to put that as number one priority, being likable.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's continue on here.
They're living in Salesforce, right? But if you put, hey, this is big news about a competitor, these guys rolled out a new product, you're going to see these on the front lines, you can put that why does this matter piece in place, much more likely that they're going to engage with the content. So we built that right in here. And when you're ready to go, you can simply preview what this is going to look like and send it now. So this is what that final email would look like, or the inside Slack would look like. You could attach this directly to a CI channel in Slack, for example, and this nice little tight summary of all the news that you've curated in here, just with a couple of clicks is going to show up. So we see that summary, we see the why does this matter piece with links right back to the articles. And then we also see this gold bar at the top. Again, back to your ROI. As you add new boards, track new competitors. So for example, when we added Socrata earlier, we automatically tracked that we added that competitor in here. If you'd have left that board in a draft mode, they wouldn't show up in here, by the way. This is just because we left it in a live mode. Any of the battle cards that we updated automatically going to create a link in here as well. So everything that's been updated, we track it and automatically send this out to the sales team.
Cool.
Think about that as an end user, as a salesperson who comes up against Zendesk all the time. They probably think they know the battle card cold and they're not going to go and visit it. But if something changes on that battle card, they need to be made aware of it. So we take care of that for free for you. And all they have to do is single click link right back to the battle card, and they can easily see exactly. So they'll see that Zendesk suite was updated 16 minutes ago. Really easy for them to find the content they're looking for. So how does that look as a workflow compared to what you're doing now from an email newsletter standpoint?
So what I like about this is that it mimics my natural process. It's not going to change what I do. It's just going to streamline it. So I really like that a lot. Very
cool. Do you track your newsletter right now?
All right, I think that was a really good check-in, don't you?
Yeah, totally. He went directly for it. He got the positive affirmation, and now he's moving on. I love it.
Yeah, totally.
No, I don't.
Nice. Yeah. So, well, not nice, I guess, but what nice. We can help you that too. So anything that happens in Klue, battle card views, board views, clicks on these links, views of any of this stuff, we actually track and we can share that out with you in reports. And we're adding new reports all the time, actually. Here's a user report based on the content. This is based on the demo that I just gave you. So you can see my favorite competitor to demonstrate is Zendesk, obviously. But I'm going to get lots of metrics on how many, or which battle cards they're visiting, which boards they're visiting, which teams are visiting which boards and battle cards, how long they're spending on that content. Also, who's engaging with the newsletter and for how long and all that. So you can get some metrics back on the work that you're doing. And actually what we've seen, so Dell has done the best job of this of our customers so far, but they actually tie these reports right to their win-loss, and they group their sales teams according to, team A versus team B. And you can see those same teams inside Klue.
So this feature, and I don't know if you feel the same way, it was kind of just shoved in there a little bit. This is really cool to me. I've sold into marketers a long time. I roll up to marketing. I know what product marketers like, and they love analytics, right? This is going to be able to help them prove out their job every day and their worth. So it's interesting that this is almost like just shoved in there. I think we should, as a company, I think they spend more time on this. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think so. But speaking of time, though, we're at like 41:27, 56 minutes.
True.
I feel like...
Maybe don't.
No. I'm not saying that. I actually think it's a good point.
Yeah.
What I am saying is, I don't know about you, I think Shane's doing a great job. I feel like it's kind of long.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Okay, well, let's
keep watching. Let's keep watching.
So they're actually able to show, one, how much engagement they're getting with their content, but two, how they're affecting deals. So if they see team A that's accessing content, 16% more often than team B, and seeing a 7% higher win rate against competitors, they can prove their own value statistically. It's been a huge win for them. They're loving this, but also just great for you to see what content people are engaging with and what they're not. And you can, iterate. Okay, obviously, Silence, this Silence battle card is rarely touched. Is that because we're not coming up against Silence, or is that because I haven't really put a lot of effort into curating news on their part? And I can look at what's working, what's not working, and get better over time.
Yeah, cool.
So that's the majority of the features and sort of overlay of the product I wanted to show you. How does this look in general? Is this something you could see working for your product, your process?
I have to say, this looks fantastic. It really does. It looks like it would be very helpful.
Very cool. What would be sort of next steps for you?
Yeah, so I think it was a good question in terms of asking how would this work with your process, or does this fit in with your current process? Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great, but I feel like we're just halfway around the track with that question. Now's the time to really dig in. Okay, cool. Tell me why. Like, what is it that you feel when you sort of overlay Klue's solution with what you're doing today and what your various stakeholders are doing today? Mm-hmm. How do you think we help the most?
Yeah.
And let's really understand from Caitlin how she's feeling about it. One of the things we see all too often is sales professionals wait till the very end to do those check-ins. And by then, the customer has already forgotten, right? I know I would if I'm in the customer's shoes. And so it's like, let's take this opportunity when this aspect of the demo is fresh and be like, okay, let's just pause here and talk about, where you see this fitting in. Mm-hmm. So not just... and it's like, it's funny, selling like basics are, don't just ask closed probe questions.
Right.
And it's interesting how you've got someone like Shane, who's, I think, a great sales professional. He's utilizing good closed probe questions, but I think it's good when you use the 1-2. It's like a closed probe question of, do you see this fitting in? Yes. Great. Can you tell me how you would see this fitting in with each stakeholder group? Always follow it up with an open probe.
Totally. You got to get at the question behind the question. That's what I was always taught. Like, how do you go a layer deeper? Because you're exactly right. She just said it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's reiterate. Let's get her to say that 6 more times. Yeah. Why it's so fantastic.
Right.
Exactly why. And we'll see if he actually maybe does that as we go.
Well, tell me more about that, Scott. All right.
As we're evaluating platforms and whatnot.
So I would love to discuss pricing and how you price and what the variables are.
Absolutely.
Okay, pricing. Here we go. I cannot wait to see how Shane handles this. What do you think?
I'm excited. This is always, negotiation when you're getting into it. This is what makes me excited in sales, and I love this part. So let's see how it goes.
Okay. All right, Shane. Good luck.
Let me pull my pricing slide up, and I'll kind of run you through that. So we base our pricing on 3 factors. So the number of competitors that you're actively tracking in Klue, So this would be reflective of the number of boards.
Yeah.
The number of curators, so people on your team that would have the edit ability, like, for example, you. And then the number of consumers, so people that you're supporting with the platform. So,
okay, so here we are on the pricing slide. And I don't remember Shane asking about budget, do you?
No.
Okay.
Same here.
What are your thoughts about sales professional diving into pricing without fully understanding budget?
You got to do it. You know, that was way back in the day. You got to get banned, and I know they've all gone into new things now, but you got to get budget. That's rule number one.
Yeah. And so where do you think, obviously I'll weigh in as well. I'm just curious, like where do you think that is properly layered in? Do you think you talk about budget at the very beginning of the call or as part of the discovery? Or do you think right now is the appropriate time before you get into pricing?
I think I would, personally, I think you have to go through it in the discovery call. So maybe that happens with the SDR or the BDR before it gets to this point.
Yeah.
But I would also reaffirm that at the very beginning of the call.
Yeah.
And see if anything has changed.
Yeah.
Maybe there's new information that's come to light that's made them more stringent on budget, or maybe the opposite, and they've got some budget line around now because maybe it's their end of fiscal and they're going to lose it if not.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, for me personally, I think understanding budget before we get to the pricing discussion is important. And I think it's all about positioning statements, right? In terms of before I get into a slide like this, and I think the slide's good. I think it's important always in the pricing discussion to talk about structure and give them a sense, give the prospect a sense of how does the company, in this case Klue, think about pricing. And then the next question obviously is, okay, well, where do we as a prospect fit in there and why? And so laying a background I think is good, but yeah, I would tend to say, hey, I want to get into pricing next. Before we do, can we just revisit something we've already talked about? And that is on the budget side. What does budget kind of look like? And oftentimes the customer will say, well, just let's get into pricing. And then, okay, you know, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I would typically want to get in the discovery portion of the discussion.
Yeah, I agree. And again, going a layer deeper, who owns it?
Yeah.
Can you, do you own this budget? These also really important questions to be asking.
Oh yeah, the decision-making process, etc. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and procurement and a lot, but maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Maybe he's going to get there, but I think it's important to have this before we're having this discussion.
Yeah, agreed. All right, go Shane, go.
Let's do it.
All right.
Just to be clear, 10 boards means 10 competitors, correct?
Correct. So inside Klue, I showed you, so here's when, if I go back to the dashboard, you'll see all the competitors that we're tracking in here. I focus primarily on competitors because I think that's your primary use case and need right now. But you can track anything in Klue. For example, you could track mergers and acquisition targets, benchmark companies, or even just general topics, for example.
So could I just track, have a board that's just general market intel as a whole?
Absolutely. So here's an example of that.
How I would do that?
For sure. So here you could have the boards in here where you could gather your thoughts. We haven't done a very good job of working these out yet, but you could really put anything you want in here. But you could also track the news on those in more general trends. So here AI trends is an example. We've got 632 articles. These aren't matching a competitor that we're tracking. These are matching a market that we wanted to watch. So this is actually in the finance services industry, insurance industry. We created a search term with insurance.
Okay, we gotta pause it here.
Okay.
I'm not sure how we ended up here. We were having a pricing discussion.
Yeah.
We were talking about pricing.
Yeah.
She asked about pricing.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be.
It is, yeah.
And then we jump back into the solution.
Yeah.
Without having a complete discussion. Started talking about mergers and acquisitions, competitive intelligence, a few things that I didn't hear discussed throughout. And then she bid on it. She did ask a question, so now we're going through it. But I think we need to complete that part of the process.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
My take is the last thing you ever want in a pricing discussion is confusion. It needs to be clean, crisp, right? Very clear. And I feel like, Shane's doing a good job of addressing her question. And so we're on a bit of a tangent right now, but to me, it's about how when you go on a tangent and you're addressing the customer's concern, there's two ways to handle that. It's, oh, great question. Can we just park that for a sec? I want to come back to that, but first I want to say this. Or you do what Shane's doing, and he's going down that path, which is great. Then it's about how you bring it back. So let's see how he brings it back.
Let's check it out.
Okay.
but with claim settlement, self-service AI, artificial intelligence. This is actually a real claim from one of our potential customers that we've been working with, a real query that we created. And we created this because they're a bricks and mortar insurance company. And they're seeing a ton of emerging competition in the online world, artificial intelligence, claim settlement, self-service stuff that they're seeing compete and taking some of their market share. So they want to watch for these up and coming competitors. So they're not really full-blown competitors like the big insurance companies of the world, but they're taking some of their market segments. So they created this search term to bring back news that tracks this. And as I go through the same workflow, I can look at this news. Does this make sense? See related items. And then I can find that and use that article to share out with the team. Now, this is not, again, specific to a competitor, but I might want to track some of this information, collect some intel from that article on that board. And of course, I can then do that inside here. I can go into the AI trends board, pull it open. Now, this is actually in a draft mode right now, so it's actually not costing you anything. You can see this is in a draft mode. So if it's just a place to gather your thoughts and you're not actually going to share content out with the sales teams, you can simply leave them in a draft mode, collect your thoughts in here, and as the news comes in here, grab that content and ship it in. Super, super straightforward.
Cool.
Does that answer your question with respect to how to sort of use it?
Yeah, it does. I really like that it's not just competitors, because of course I'm responsible for market intelligence as a whole as well.
All right, there you go. So now he's going to tie it back, and I think we're now going to get back to pricing.
Agreed. And, so it was cool how he took the opportunity to address something that was clearly on Caitlin's mind, right? Mm-hmm. And he used a customer example and he didn't just talk about it, he actually went into the Klue solution and demoed it again. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So good job, Shane. And you know what? We talked about the two different ways to handle it, and the second way is to pull it back, and he did.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. Yeah, that's a great. It's a great way to stay on top of all of those sorts of things. By the way, while we're there, I'll pull you up and just show you right out of the box what we pull in.
Yeah.
Again, to manage expectations, it takes 48 hours for all the stuff to start rolling in.
Yeah.
But here's Socrata that we've pulled in just within the last few minutes. Pull in some basic intel, some employee numbers. Wow, their employees numbers really dipped in the last couple of years.
That's really interesting. I actually didn't realize that.
Yeah. So they have office locations, some basic website information, so page views, engagement. So here's their search keywords here. So
bring her back, buddy.
Come on, Shane. Come on back. Come on back.
Come on, you can do it.
This is what they're actually optimizing their website for. So the stuff that they're showcasing on their website. And then this paid search keywords will show in eventually as well. So what they're actually paying for. You'll have to see your own name in there. So financials will pull, are they public, Socrata?
So they were purchased by Tyler, who is public, which is why I think the employee numbers dropped, because they probably had a large number of layoffs or, just people leaving when they were purchased.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, so these job categories, this shows their sort of separation between tech and like R&D and BD. Mm-hmm. And you can see some job postings and key personnel as well. So this is right out of the box within 15 minutes. You've tracked a competitor, added them in here. So if you think about this from a sort of workflow standpoint, even the sales team, if they ask you for support on a deal and you wanted to track the government that they're or the entity that you're selling to, whoever you're selling to, you can add them in here as well. So from a sort of whale hunting perspective or potential customers perspective, you can easily add them in here, leave them in a draft mode, gather some content. It just helps you with icebreakers, knowing the sort of market.
I think we're off course right now. I think if we looked at the script that he was like loosely following, I think we veered off somewhere. That's the sense I'm getting.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, I don't know if we're off course, but I feel like there's a fine line between tucking in and making sure that, okay, we're fully explaining and addressing the concern of the prospect versus overselling.
Yeah.
And I think we're moving to overselling a little bit here, so I don't know that we're way off course, but I feel like we can bring it back to pricing by now.
Yeah. I got faith in my boy Shane.
He's
gonna bring it on.
Hey, absolutely. Like, you know what? Again, this is 2020. So easy to sit here and say this. I wonder if he gets the deal.
We gotta find out.
Okay, let's see.
The lay of the landscape, very easy to use.
Cool.
So back to the pricing. We can work these numbers through. So how many salespeople? You support the whole organization. What's the size of your company just in general?
Yeah, it's about 200 people.
Okay. And then how many competitors would you say you actively track?
Just 5.
Just 5? And
Yeah.
in a perfect world, still 5?